Hello YouTube, this is Yekaterina Anason, your domestic goddess, and I thought this would be a perfect opportunity to invite you into my new home and introduce you to my cute pets such as this geranium or this duck, and spend next few days sewing along with me because I have planned today, tomorrow and probably the day after tomorrow to sew all of the aprons that you ordered from me. And my home is nice and Christmassy and it's all very cozy, and I think maybe it can inspire you to make something creative with your own hands, or maybe you're interested in how I make my aprons and what is the process. So let's begin.
As the very first thing, I wanted to show you what inspired me for this design. It is the dress I sewed for Zoya, my eldest daughter, 10 years ago when she was 3. The key elements of this dress are heart appliques, scalloped edges in contrasting color, a lot of ruffles, and obviously crisscross straps in the back. All of these elements I tried to implement in the design of my grown-up Christmas apron. And now on to making the aprons. Cutting out for 5 garments at a time is a whole day of work and can be backbreaking, but luckily we have this huge kitchen table to do it on, which I actually bought with the cutting fabrics on it in mind. Patterns I make again and again, such as this one, I've cut out of thick carton so they are easier and faster to trace. As you can see, the strap ruffles alone take an hour to deal with. Since I'm making 5 aprons at a time and the pink ruffle is double-sided, all in all I've cut 60 pieces of it. While working, I keep my surface neat by throwing all the little scraps in a bowl, and I also keep careful track of what and in which amount I've already cut out. Cutting out all the pieces took way longer than I expected, and this is footage from the next day, me finally being done with it all. Today I'm looking way less glamorous than the day before, but it seems a bit pointless to dress up for a day spent bent over a cutting table. What took the longest were obviously the little hearts that I've cut 84 pieces of. And this is what I did to keep track of all the details. I did the math first and then just had to follow my own instructions. Brilliant for when you're tired in the evening and tend to make calculation mistakes. In the middle of it all, I also discovered that I was short of the pink fabric, so my husband was sent on a fabric store run to replenish our supplies. And now it's time for supper. So my system of combining work that needs to be kept very clean and kitchen work that obviously is messier is having plenty of boxes in which I can just put my work in midways and tuck it all away when it's time for supper and flee to my working room. While the dish is sizzling in the oven, I will get on tracing all the decorum elements onto the fabric and prepare it for the embroidery. The first stop is the pink embroidery on the belts that I later will embroider by hand with matching pink thread.
And if you're wondering what I'm doing in my child's room. It's a very cute big room. You see, all the cute tapestry.
As I'm working non-stop today, potatoes and cream for supper it is. The easiest and fastest dish to make, especially if you have a food combiner that can cut those potatoes in slices in 30 seconds.
Mom? Mommy, what are you doing?
I'm filming.
Now that the belts are done with, I'm preparing the chest heart applications. For that, I'm using small pieces of the adhesive tape. The adhesive tape that I'm using is usually used to shorten the curtains. I measure out the position of the central hearts first, and then I iron these on first.
Сегодня встретимся, хорошая моя. Давай сегодня встретимся, хорошая моя.
From that on, I just eyeball the position of the side hearts. Now on to making the quote-unquote labels, where I machine embroider the name of my brand on the part that covers the seams that connect upper and lower halves of the apron on the inside of the belt, so it all looks pretty. Now short supper break, and on goes the sewing and creation of scalloped edges. It is now next day, and we are lucky to have a rare ray of sunshine here in this dull Swedish winter.
Good Jesus, you want to kiss baby Jesus? You can kiss. Yes, you love baby Jesus.
Yeah.
Yes.
Pretty.
Oh, is baby Jesus pretty?
Yes.
Is Mother Mary and baby Jesus?
Mommy?
Yes.
Baby?
Yes.
Because of that, I will seize the opportunity to sit in the sun and to be in the lightest part of our home, the bench in the kitchen, and to do all of the hand embroideries required for the design. I will now embroider the belts and carefully hand sew the hearts to the chest piece of the aprons with a superb help from my little assistant.
But you know, it really will help if you just collect all of those things from here.
Should I do that first?
The next step is attachment of the little hearts to the hem of the skirt. Here I use the same system. First I iron it on with the help of a small piece of adhesive, and then I will sew it on. Oh, hello, Mrs. Meow Meow. Since it's a lot of hearts, this part I do with the help of my machine. It shortens the work time considerably, but it is still a very tedious task, as I have to turn it on and on with every heart, as well as use a needle to hide all the threads on the back side of the apron, so the work looks neat and tidy and the garment will last a long time. For scalloped edges, I also use a special seam on my machine that I created for this purpose. Also here, although it's made by machine, all the cutting requires a lot of attention and fine motorics. It is then turned to the right side and ironed as I go. While I do that, I usually watch a Bette Davis movie or two. Scalloped edges for days are finally done. And it is now time for making the front pockets, shaping it and decorating it before attachment to the skirt. Inside seams are all zigzagged, as you can see, obviously, so they don't frail on whatever is going to be in these pockets. Assembling upper parts of the apron is next. At first I carefully measure up and carefully gather all the ruffles. Then I get on with the assembling. I attach the yoke to the straps, then I attach the ruffles to the straps, and so the right side is done. Now I will get on with making the same process on the wrong side, where I will repeat the process, obviously without the ruffles. I then get on sewing those two together, so to hide all the seams and make apron pretty to look at from all the sides. The evening is then spent in making the skirt ruffles. As you remember, I already processed all the pink pieces, and so I start with processing the red pieces, where I fold the edges and sew it on with a decorative seam that matches the scalloped edges that will go on top of it. I then pretty much repeat the process with the top ruffles and measure out and stitch together the red and the pink and ruffle it.
The camera decided to die on me, so I couldn't really film how I was finishing the lower part of the apron, but you can see I finished the hem. I attached everything that was about it. So all of this is ruched and attached, and then I finished the hem. I fastened it. So fasten it here, so if it is going to be washed, it's still gonna stay in the right position. Then obviously the sides should have been made, and I finished this by hand, this one lower part. And now I am going to attach the pocket, and I'm going to do it by hand because on the very first aprons I did it by machine, but I do really think it looks better when I attach it by hand. So that's what I'm just gonna do, and it's, you know, fairly easy. Just figure out what the middle of this is and sew it to it. Okay, now the pocket is on. You can see it is sewn on by hand. Here are 3 sides. And obviously my mission right now is to sew it to the belt. Therefore I need to ruche it on the sides. And I previously tried to sew it on by ruching whole of the apron, but then I think that the pocket doesn't lay flat and it really isn't that cute of a shape. So I only ruche it here and there, and then this stays flat while I sew it on. And obviously I'm only going to sew on the front part of the belt, as I am yet to sew on the upper part of the apron to it.
And so the creation of the ruffles begins once again. I measured out, fasten it with pins, and finish on the machine. And I will go on repeating this for the rest of the day.
Okay, now the upper part is ready and the lower part is ready too. And now I will attach the first to the ladder, and I will do it by hand. To do that, I'm actually going to measure the distance between the top and the bottom so that it is symmetrical.
After I do this seam by hand, I then open the fold and repeat the seam on the machine, as this obviously needs to be a very sturdy seam. So not to leave exposed the unsightly seam on the wrong side of the apron, I am sewing my label on there. Also there, I tuck all the threads on the wrong sides so there are no sticking out threads from the seams.
Yes. Thank you, Shoshani.
The last touch is finishing the inner seam of the belt, which I do entirely by hand, as it should be invisible and really adds this luxury touch to the whole garment.
And here you can see the back side now. As you can see, there are no exposed seams here. The same on the yoke here. Everything is neat and ready to be used for a long time.
Finally, the aprons are ready, and I'm going to try one on here. They are now ready to be shipped off and serve their new owners for hopefully many years, and maybe even their children.
Okay, so this is pretty much how I make my aprons. Thank you for following me around for the last 3 days, and I hope this video was of some sort of value to you, either inspirational or entertaining. If you end up doing something inspired by my creativity, then I would really love to see it. You are very welcome to tag me in your posts on Instagram if you end up doing something. I would appreciate, of course, if you will give this video a thumbs up, and if you like to see more videos of me, that you subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope I see you soon.